So I'm at a point in my life right now where I almost feel like I've taken a step back. The reason for this, if you've watched my channel at all, you probably are familiar with the fact that I moved out of my parents' place this year. Finally got out on my own. I'm, living on my own, taking care of everything myself. But while I was still living with my parents, they were incredible and did not charge me for rent or food or a lot of other things that I would have been having to pay for myself if I was living out on my own. So, what did that mean for me? That meant I had a lot of disposable income. I really didn't have much expenses. I paid off my student loans pretty quickly after I graduated. I own my car. I really have no debt. I don't carry a balance on credit cards. So basically, all my money was free to either spend as I want or save and invest as I want. And I saved and invested aggressively for the first half of my 20s. I've always been the type to just save money. I got into investing at I like to think a pretty young age. So during this time period, I was working a lot and I was pretty much saving and investing everything. If I had to guess, like no bullshit, I was probably saving about 90% of my income and just using the other 10 to maybe 10, anywhere from 10 to 20%. I was, taking care of my very few expenses as well as, just spending money on stuff that I wanted to. So, with all that being said, now that I'm out on my own, I have a lot more expenses. I'm paying for my rent, I pay for my utilities, all my insurance, my food, anything else I need, toiletries, just anything you need to spend money on. Now I'm taking care of it myself because, like I said, I moved out. I'm living on my own here. So if I don't pay for it, no one will. But again, that's just how life is. Once you kind of get out on your own, that's just the way it works, right? So now that that's my situation, I have a lot less money every month available to save and invest. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, as I mentioned, I have a lot more expenses now that I'm living on my own. Rent alone takes up a good chunk of my income, and then utilities and food and all that other good stuff. Um, but there's another aspect to it, and it comes down to income. Um, I was not happy with my previous job towards the end of my tenure there, and I just decided to leave that job. I had been applying to other positions, and I was offered a position, and I was going to accept it, but I felt like I wasn't going to be happy there either. And at the same time, while I was going through this whole period of not being happy with my job and looking for other opportunities with other companies, I was also getting to the point where I really felt ready to move out of my parents' place. And that's not to say that, my parents living at my parents' place wasn't good or I wasn't happy there or anything like that. Like I said, my parents were fantastic. They're the most incredible people I know. But I just felt like it was time for me to get out and do my own thing and be on my own and just really start to, be a true adult and self sufficient and independent. So all this going on in my head, as well as just like, interviewing and not being happy at my company, I just decided that like that was the perfect time to do something that I may never have the ability to do again, right? Someone in my mid 20s, no kids, no girl at the time. I was like, you know what? I'm ready to move out. I want to do something different. I had lived in the same town my whole life. So I just decided to pick my life up and move to another state just to get a fresh start. I felt like that was what I needed in order to kind of feel happy and just try something new. So that's what I did. I quit my job, ended up moving about a month later, and started fresh in a new state where I knew pretty much no one, in a city that I knew no one. So all that being said, I finally ended up finding a job and I took a little bit of a pay cut. I am not making right now what I was making at my old job. Um, and to be completely transparent, I don't know if I'm happier at this job or not. Um, I'm still trying to decide on that because I moved to a different industry and I'm not thrilled with this job and with this company. but I don't want to sound like I don't appreciate the fact that I have a job, because I know a lot of people don't have jobs right now and they're struggling. So I do not take for granted the fact that I have a job, but I think it's important context that I'm making less than I was before, and I don't know if I'm happier here or not. Um, so aside from me taking a pay cut during my day job, I was also working a side hustle, just in like the service industry on the weekends, back home when I was living with my parents. And I don't have that income anymore either. And that would average out to anywhere from like 750 to, I don't know, actually, yeah, maybe like 750 or so every month. I can't remember exactly what it was, to be honest with you. Um, but that was extra income as well. And I don't have that anymore. And I have not found something, um, you know, in my new living location that I feel like is worth my time as far as a second job, a side hustle to bring extra income in. Don't get me wrong, like I would like to have a second job, to make some extra money, and I know I should have one. I just haven't found something that I feel like I would be happy and comfortable doing and spending my weekends doing. And I'm not just going to, waste my weekends doing something that I'm miserable. I'm still getting by. I'm still saving some money. So it's not like I'm in the negative every month. If that were the case, then yeah, I would be getting a job today somewhere. But that isn't the case. I'm just not saving and investing as much as I would like to. So from being able to save 90 to 85 to 90% of my income to now saving, less than 50% it's a big adjustment for me, and it's been something that I've kind of had to wrap my head around. But I think the fact that, that's just the way things are now. As far like if you're going to live out on your own, like things are kind of expensive, you know what I mean? Like rent and food and utilities and insurance, and God forbid you go out and have a beer with some friends every once in a while, like it adds up, you know what I mean? So I think I think this whole sort of phase of not even phase, this experience of me, moving out, moving to a different state, being out on my own and handling all my finances and all my expenses, it's definitely opened my eyes up to some things, and I think I've really cracked down on budgeting a lot for myself. I felt like, back home when I was still living with my parents, I felt like I was really good at budgeting, but I think it was just the fact that I had little to no expenses and I was able to just save and invest everything. I thought that was like me being good at budgeting. But now that I have actual expenses that I have to take care of every month, I'm really buckling down and you know, keeping an eye on where I'm spending my money, because every dollar that I spend that I don't need to spend is one less dollar that I could save or invest. Um, so I think it's been good for me in that aspect, but overall, it just kind of sucks that I'm not saving and investing as much anymore. So really, what I need to do, I mean, I've cut my budget down as as lean as I feel like I could, as far as like mandatory expenses every month. So I really just need to start making some more income. So I'm, hoping, maybe an opportunity to make some more money within my company that I'm with now. If not, maybe an opportunity with another company to make more money. I'm looking at possible second jobs as far as like, just a couple days a week, whether it's during, weeknights or on the weekends, just to make some extra income. I do have a little bit of money coming in every month just from like passive income. And then, yeah, finally, I'm doing this YouTube thing, not making any money yet by any means, just kind of just getting started. But hopefully, at some point in the future, if this could bring in money, that would be awesome. I do this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I do enjoy it, and I feel like it's a platform to just kind of talk about things that I like to talk about. But also, the idea of making money in the future from it is awesome, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we all need money to survive. So if we can create another stream of income, I don't know why anyone wouldn't. Um, so yeah, that's that. Like I said, I've gotten much more strict as far as my budgeting goes. I'm really trying to save and invest as much as possible. But it kind of sucks that I'm not able to save the amount of money that I was before. But shit, that's life. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to keep a positive mindset and accepting the fact that this is what an adult is. It's it's tougher out there when you're taking care of everything on your own versus when you're still living with mom and dad. You know what I mean? And I understood that, and I knew what I was getting into when I moved out. Um, but you gotta make shit happen and get busy and make more money, spend less money, and save, invest, and be smart. And as long as you're making progress every month, I think that's more important than the amount of progress to a certain extent. Just because if you're going if you're in the negative every month and you're spending more than you're making, you're in trouble. So a little bit of progress is better than no progress, or even worse, negative progress. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of my personal financial situation. I like to make these videos every once in a while just because I feel like people can relate to it, but also it'll be cool for me to be able to look back on them at some point in the future, just kind of see where my mindset was at a given point in my life. So I appreciate you guys checking in with me as always. If you're new here, I post all kinds of content about personal finance, life experiences, investing, all that kind of stuff. So and I post videos every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and then on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.